Okay. Morning, Anna.
Uh, Morning, Max.
Welcome
Mad
to
Max.
Mondays with Max. This is
I've
obviously,
tried really hard to get on this show.
I know, it must be a surreal feeling for you to finally get on.
Finally, I feel like everyone was telling me about Mondays with Max, and I had no idea what it was. And then I started watching it. I was
And
very jealous. Was never invited.
oh, well, there we go. You are our first professional first of many professionals to join us. Um, I've done a lot of research on you actually in the last little while.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Really?
yes, so I know a lot more
Is there
about you.
anything of interest?
Well, I found it very interesting that you did your first triathlon in 2011. That seems very recent.
It was actually 2010, but yes,
Okay.
yeah, it was quite recent. It was, most people know,
East
due to an
London.
ex-boyfriend. Yeah, it was East London. But it was actually due to an ex-boyfriend. I was just running with a whole running group that I just started, and I was mostly running just to get a thigh gap.
Nice. Everyone does this for a reason.
Exactly.
Okay, so
But yeah,
2010 was the
I mean,
first, and
mhm.
and then obviously you did took then got hooked and then started taking it pretty seriously because your times that I've been researching got exponentially better. World champs in 2012, um, and then obviously winning your age group at Kona in when was that? 2015. So 5 years
I'd
later?
like to say it was a win, but it was third. Yeah, yeah.
Third. Okay, close
And
enough.
yeah,
But
I like
still,
that.
to
That's
get
close
to
enough. I usually call it second loser, but thanks.
okay, but still, getting to Kona in 5 years of triathlon is pretty impressive. I've been doing this for 5 years, and I don't. Kona's not even on my radar yet.
Yeah, thank you. I think when I started the sport, or any sport, I never thought anything was to use the Ironman phrase, impossible.
Yeah.
Um, and I just didn't know the limits, you know. I think the worst now is knowing that how much harder you have to work to get um, better.
The
It's like the
gains
more you know,
become
the worse it is.
yeah, and I suppose your
Uh,
gains become exponentially smaller. Um, you got to put in a lot of effort to gain a couple minutes, where when you start out, you're making up 10, 15 minutes at a time.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I'm taking this so it doesn't fall over. I think the most exciting thing about it is I think you can go through this, it's all mental. And I think you go through this like troughs and peaks. So when you first start, everything just like you say, it gets better and better, better, and you're on like this upward curve, and it's just so rewarding. And every session is like you walk away and you feel like amazing. And then I don't know, confidence is such a fickle thing in the sport, especially, you'll have a bad training session and you think, oh, I'm the worst. What am I doing? Why am I putting in all this time and effort? I suck. Session you're like, I'm amazing, I'm a superhero, this is awesome. And I think it's just having those sessions to continually feel the fire is great at the beginning because it's always consistently more good sessions than bad sessions. And then as you get to that, like you said, those incremental gains, you start having a lot more, I suppose, just you're not constantly improving every single session. And it's kind of just keeping that hunger when you are not having, I suppose, reward for it, or you feel that you're not having reward for it. But consistency is always going to win out.
Do you think you work on times you achieve in a race compared to what you expected as your reward, or where you place compared to other athletes as your food for continuing going?
That is a very, very good question. If you'd asked me that about 2 years ago, I suppose it would be position at that point in time. I'd had a good first professional year. I'd had some really good success in half Ironmans and Ironmans. I'd come third at East London. I went on to come second at Ironman Lake Placid against Heather Jackson, and she's had come third the year before at Kona, and then I came third at Ironman Barcelona that year. So I thought this is amazing, and then I expected to continue with that
And you won
trajectory,
Durban.
and I didn't. And I won Durban, thank you, yes.
Yeah.
And like I said, I expect, you kind of not expect, but you think, well, now the next step is, to win those things or to be better and not to sort of just stagnate. And I kind of stagnated. And I think there was a combination of reasons why that happened. And I was so focused on the result and the result relative to others than anything else. And I think I just needed a reset. And, sometimes you lose the fun of it. You start like meeting your training schedule as opposed to having the best time and enjoying what your body can do. And anyway, reset, refocused, and I think my whole mental attitude towards racing has changed now. So when I arrive there, if I can deliver my best on that day, and my best being what I've seen in training, because we often go to these races and we think we're going to outperform our training. I can push 200 watts, and I use 200 watts just as an
As an
average, but I
example,
push
yeah.
200 watts. Thank you. Yeah. 200 watts in training, and then I get to the race, I'm going to expect to push 250 watts. It's
We've all done that.
not possible. You can only, yeah, exactly. So I think for me, going to a race and performing my training to the best of my ability is become the reward now. So if I use this year as an example, East London, I really underperformed my training, and I'm not sure exactly the reason for it. I think there might be a mental and emotional. My gran was pretty ill, and she was going for surgery on the Monday, and I don't know if that weighed down more heavily on me than I thought. And then I finished that race, and I was so gutted that I'd had such a terrible race. And it wasn't about position. It was just that I didn't cycle to my ability. I didn't swim to my ability. I didn't run to my ability. And then it was really good to kind of get back on the horse and do Dubai, where
With
I
me.
got to see you, which was always fun.
You
Yes,
also did a
sub
sub 5.
5 hour
Oh,
max.
good. Sorry, I thought you weren't gonna. I thought you weren't gonna mention this.
Of course. I mean, I know you as sub 5 hour max. That's the only way. And I think my result there again wasn't a great position relative to the other girls, and you'd never want to go and not be winning or be challenging for a podium position. But definitely at the end of that race, I can say that was a true reflection of my ability and of my training over the period to Jan.
Sorry, I'd asked you what you'd done between East London and Dubai, and
Yes.
you were saying that you obviously had done the full at beginning of December,
Yes.
and
Okay. So sorry, you missed in a whole conversation that I had
yeah,
with
sorry.
myself. Oh, no worries. Yeah. So I had done Ironman Busselton on December 5th, which is amazing. If anyone wants to go there, it is an incredible route. I'd highly recommend it. But I obviously I didn't have a great race there. I sat in T2 and debated with the volunteers on whether I should go and do the run, to which they said, yes, you're almost finished. And I was like, okay, so I should just go run a marathon. And
Yeah.
they were like, yes. I was like, okay. Anyway, it was 4 loops, and I, said, I'll see how I feel after a loop 1. And then I was like, well, you might as well finish loop
Yeah.
2. And then, well, you're almost there. You might as well finish this. And it's just such a lovely, lovely place. So if you are going to Ironman Busselton, don't go too close to the race date. I think I went too close, thinking I took a chance.
Yeah.
Anyway, I learned from that experience. But as a result, I had a little bit of a slow build into the beginning of the season with the main focus on Ironman South Africa. I was saying I tend to do better over longer distances, which is good because there are longer distances and longer events. But from the bad part, it's a lot of training,
Yeah.
especially on the bike. You just need hours and time on the bike. So luckily, we can make time for that.
Yes. Wake up early.
Wake up early. Yes, go to bed late.
What your race last year in PE obviously was really good. Um,
Yeah, it's probably one of the best races I've ever had. I'm reading a book, and it talks about getting into that zone where you just the effort is there, but everything just converts, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
sometimes you're like pushing so hard on the bike or on the run, and you look down at your watch and you'll think like, how is this like whatever? I'm
Yeah.
running like 3-minute Ks and I look down and it's 6-minute Ks, and you're thinking, no,
Yeah.
how's that even possible? And it was one of those days where, I felt in control. I went there also just in a very calm. I mean, like I had pre-race nerves. I always get pre-race nerves. I never sleep the night before, and I don't think many people do.
No.
I think that's a positive because it means something to you and it's important.
Yeah.
But the day was broken down really, like just went through the swim, went through the bike, focused on the bike, and then went onto the run and had a strategy with my coach on just how to do it. And it wasn't about like times or anything like that, because I mean it's so subject on that day to weather conditions, and it was really just about, okay,
Did you
push this
even
effort on
see
the
the weather
bike, let's
conditions?
build.
Were you out that long? You weren't out that long. Yeah.
No, I mean the wind was pumping, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I got that. I did get the wind that was
Okay.
the wind was pumping, but I mean in Cape Town we train in so much wind that it kind of is par for the course, to be honest.
Okay.
Um, that, but then there was a moment where I was running. Um, I mean the crowd was just incredible. When the crowd just backs you like that on a home field, it's just the most you just feel so much energy. And I got to a point at the turnaround at the top of Admiralty, which is by the lighthouse, where you turn, right up, and then you turn and you come immediately back down. And I turned, and probably about 2 Ks later, I passed fourth and third, almost
Where were you out of
simultaneously.
T2? Sorry.
So that was probably, as in what kilometer?
Position. Sixth.
Oh, out of T2 was fifth.
Fifth.
Yeah,
Okay.
fifth.
I
Yeah,
thought you were
I think it
further
was
back.
fifth. Could be sixth.
Okay.
Mm,
Yeah.
no, it could be. Yeah, I think it was. No, one, two, three, fifth,
Okay.
six, maybe six. I don't know.
Yeah.
um. So I think I passed them, and I didn't have time to even. Usually I like to give like a shout out of support, because we're all kind of suffering together. I mean, no one truly races an Ironman from start to finish unless you one of the special few that has the ability and b the time, I suppose, to do that. Most of us are just racing our own sort of race of the day. And usually, like I said, I like to give a little bit of encouragement, but it came so fast that I didn't have time to give the encouragement. And I kind of ran through, and it was in an aid station. And then I was like, well, I'm in third. And the first thought was, this is the Kona slot. And the second thought was, um, I've still got 16 kilometers to go. Like, this is by no means finished.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but most of the pain starts in the last 12 kilometers, 12 to 14 Ks, where you've kind of just got to put on your big girl panties and like suffer through. And you can see a lot of people can just fall apart. I mean, I think that's why I like Ironman so much. It's because it's mental, nutrition, all of those other aspects that go into it. It's not just the physical. And then was on going for the 1.5 laps. So I was still back out at Admiralty again, and I felt like everything was tight down my hamstring, and I was like, don't even think about it. Don't let this get into your head. Just
Yeah.
keep running. And then in the last 2.5 kilometers, I had two friends of mine running across the road who were doing their own Ironman. So all their energy should be going into finishing their Ironman. They just had all this explosive energy, and they were like, "You've just done it! It's amazing!" And I just had this smile. Was all I could do was like the smile and a little thumbs up. But I was just elated that now I could actually start thinking that this was coming to an end and this was going to be a celebration. It was probably, like you said, one of those few days where your training just comes to the fore, and everything that you've put in, all that effort is actually demonstrated, and that is almost as good as a win.
Yeah.
I had no idea I was running at that pace at all. Um, it didn't feel fast at all. And so it's still a memory that I think will be with me forever. It was just incredible.
Yeah. Then obviously got your Kona slot. Um,
Yes.
so I suppose after that, then all focus goes to world champs, what did you then expect out of Kona?
More than I got.
You had been once
Which
before,
sounds
eh?
terrible. Yeah, so I've been twice before,
Okay.
but once I didn't race. And the reason that I didn't race is 3 weeks out, was riding in the cradle. A girl U-turned in front of me, and I went into a T-boned into her, broke my collarbone, tore my ligament off. I still feel it to this day. It like pulls a little bit. So yeah, didn't get to race that year, but my friends and I had all planned a holiday. So the 5 of us went and still watched.
Okay.
And I had to go into doping control. So I registered in my sling and everything, and I'd been marked to go into doping control, and I just burst into tears. I'm like, but I don't even get to race. Um, and then by the time the race day came, I was, had gotten over all the emotional baggage of it,
Yeah.
and got to actually watch the race, which was super fun. And then it's also quite nice. You don't have everything. So I always say, like, when you get to watch and just be a spectator, you got none of the worries and the nerves at the beginning of the day, but then you get none of the accomplishment at the end of the day either, which is so rewarding.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, 2015, I actually went and raced. And so it was my second time racing, first time as a professional. I made some really stupid um, mistakes leading into the race. Um, so for one, I realized, so this lockdown, everyone might feel isolated and bored, but when you go and travel as a professional, especially when you're traveling alone, and then it's not to sound like, I'm really grateful that I get to do all of those things, and I
Mm.
wouldn't change it for the world, but often you're in this also type of isolation.
Yeah.
Yes, you can go out and you can cycle out and you can run out, but you don't talk to people for a very long period of time, and you don't socialize. And by the time I got to Kona, um, and my friends started arriving, I realized that I'd missed that company and just that outlet, that I probably was socializing a little bit too much than I should have, was the first part. And the second part is, I'd been in Kona to adapt for a longer period, and I think I adapted to the heat. I tend to adapt to the heat pretty well, but was still concerned about electrolytes. And when you sweat, over a period, obviously you adapt. You're not sweating out as many electrolytes, but I still took in a lot more sodium, and as a result, I swelled up, but really badly. My hand swelled up and went into spasm during the race, and it happened on the bike. So by the time I got into the run, I was like, everything was just like stuck. I couldn't hold anything, and I finished, and I was like, and what they actually said was, it because of the overconsumption of sodium that I taken, my potassium levels had dropped, which impacts the firing of your muscles. So the positive is that I was able to push through that and still, come top 20 in
Yeah.
the world champs. The negative is I didn't feel like had performed to my training, and I trained pretty friggin' hard for that race,
Yeah.
and it was disappointing to kind of have performed at a suboptimal level for myself.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a lot of effort just getting to Kona and then the travel there and being there the time before and for then it all
And the
to boil down to
cost,
one.
let me
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah. All boils down to that one day, which, but I suppose
Yeah.
you can always go again. There's that option.
Yeah, well, let's hope.
Let's hope.
No,
Let's
I
hope.
mean, that is the goal.
Yeah.
The goal, I suppose my goal's quite lofty,
Mm.
and I'm not too fearful to put them out there, because I think it like kind of commits you to them, but
Yeah.
like definitely would want to be a top 10 Kona finisher in the professional field. I mean, that would be a dream,
Yeah.
a dream that maybe I can achieve.
100%. Well, hopefully this. So with this lockdown and training through it, you obviously still working pretty hard by the sounds of things. Are you sticking to your
Yes.
normal training regime? Have you changed anything? Are you able to do anything differently that you would normally do?
Um, so it's quite interesting. Like I feel during the lockdown, my life hasn't changed that much, other than I don't get to swim, and that actually work has been hectic. I feel like there's just seamless. We start at 7, finish at 10. Whether it's Saturday or Sunday, doesn't matter. I've been working through those weekends, and I think it's a number of things. So just to give context on what I actually do, so I head up global finance for the coastal regions. So that's Eastern Cape, Western Cape, and KZN. And typically, what global finance is I just sell money. So I give you money and you pay me interest, and that's
Okay.
it. But
Okay.
that type of money and that structure can be very different. So it can be loan capital markets, debt capital markets, leverage finance, hybrid debt. So that's a bit of flavor of debt and equity. And I typically service anything across mid-corp, so your larger companies that haven't listed or haven't corporatized, onto the JSE, and then your large corporates. So anything that's top 40 JSE listed would be included. During this period of time, it's just that everyone is rightly so concerned about how they see the revenues are going to drop. As we were saying, consumer spending is going to contract, GDP is going to contract. Our downgrade means that our cost of funding has increased, and therefore everyone's cost of funding has increased across the board, and it's kind of quite nerve-wracking. I think people think the bank just has a whole pot of money that gives it out, but it's not my money, and it's not necessarily the bank's money. It's your money, deposit takers, institutions who put the money. And I've got to say, any money I send out the door, I've got to make sure how do I get it back in. So it's looking at the credit quality of the company, the underlying, the forecasts, and the forecasts during this period are. I mean, I don't know about everyone at home, but your forecasts change on a daily basis because we just don't have this crystal ball to see what's the outcome. So we're just dealing with a lot of, we're inundated with requests, and we're going through it in a process, and you're going to kind of be extra vigilant. In fact, I mean, shout out to my team at ABSA. They've been incredible. They've like really, my little team has been uber vigilant. I get emails on a Saturday at 11, on a Friday 11, on a Sunday morning at 8. Like, these guys are working, and they're working nonstop to deliver just the workload that we're under. So work has been incredible. I mean, I sit on these headphones for 8 hours a day. My ears are sore at the end of it, and so is my voice. But at least I get my word count out during the day.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, I love my job because I find like we're adding value to the country, to those corporates, to people, and we're working quite closely with them, which is really cool. And then with the training, I love training. I think for me, like when people got really disappointed with, the races kind of being taken off the race calendar, I get that because you feel like that's the reward for all the training that you've done.
Yeah.
I find the reward in the process. I really do love this lifestyle. I love being able to push my body, and I've seen some huge improvements actually on the bike and on the run during this period, which is also for me and my coach super rewarding. Like I can get off the bike and I have like a, like a real endorphin lift.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's what's nice about being in the lockdown is it's uber efficient. So you get on the bike, you do it, you're done, you shower, you're at your desk, and it all takes off like 3 minutes between getting off the bike, maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I have not been washing my hair. I don't know about anyone else, but I washed it last night just because I knew I was going to see you today. So it's clean for you.
Good.
I think that the disappointing part is obviously not swimming. I love swimming. I find it hugely meditative,
Yeah.
just being in that quiet space. And I'm not a very strong swimmer, so I have been doing a lot of dry-based land work with some cords and stuff. I don't know how that will convert. I'm hoping that I just won't lose. Like I can feel my um, chest from push-ups and my lats from the pulls and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that because I feel that it's actually working and will benefit me.
Did
I'm
you
enjoying, yeah, like I said, I'm enjoying it.
did you ever
The
do
training.
land-based swimming strength before?
Many years ago, but never as consistent as I've been doing now. So yeah, it'll be different.
Okay. And
Oh.
Zwift has obviously become a good friend of yours.
So I use Zwift often during the week in general because just again, it's efficient when you're getting to the office and back from the office and late nights especially. I'm not a big fan of cycling in traffic or, if there is hard session and my coach typically puts those like shorter, harder sessions, so 1.5 hours. It's done really well on the trainer, so I use the trainer a lot during the weeks anyway. So yeah, Zwift is an amazing platform. I'm trying out Rovi, as I said,
Yes.
which was I did challenge Roth this weekend, which was quite
Nice.
fun.
You didn't
Yeah, I
contemplate
mean,
the virtual Ironman?
I'm still quite keen to see. I think there's so many dynamics around
Yeah.
virtual racing, right? So I don't know about you, but my trainer, and I have the Wahoo kicker. My trainer, when my cadence is higher, gives me a faster speed than when my cadence is lower, even if I'm pushing more watts on a lower cadence. And it doesn't matter if it's on an uphill or a downhill. So speed is such a difficult one, and I think it even on the platform, so Zwift or Rovi, doesn't necessarily convert exactly. I think it depends on your trainer. There's so many variables that how do you get it right? And then weight becomes a huge issue. Like,
Yeah.
how do we know what you weigh is actually what you weigh?
Yeah.
I think there's too many variables. I think it's great as an entertainment and a way to keep everyone sort of focused, and like I said, it's a bit of a reward during their training, but I don't necessarily like the physical training. Racing is obviously best, but given the circumstances, probably better than nothing.
Yeah. I see 21 Ks on the treadmill or around the garden didn't excite me. But I see they've put on a shorter one for this second one. I think it's a 4K run or 3K run, a 40K cycle, and a 10K run, which could
Yeah.
could sign
Which
up
is
for that
doable.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, sub 5 hours.
Easy, easy. Now that I've done it, it's easy. And how did your banana bread making go?
I mean, pretty good. I have a bread maker, so I just throw the ingredients into a bread maker.
I don't know if the photo was a bad angle, but it looked like you forgot the yeast.
No, so I no. I use almond flour.
Ah,
So almond flour doesn't rise as much, and it's a little bit crumbly, but it tastes pretty good.
okay. All right.
Unfortunately, or fortunately.
Yeah. Um,
So Max, what are you doing? Let's ask you, what are you doing during this time? You seem to be having a lot of time on your hands.
yeah, unfortunately, my work is completely dead during this time. So I've got all the time in the world. Obviously, it's pretty scary owning your own business and not having a single cent of revenue coming in and employees to pay and rents to pay. And but yeah, hopefully this will be over soon and we can return to normality. But yeah, it is giving me an opportunity to bike and run, and I'm gymming a lot, which I've never done before. So my wife's a physio, so we are doing a lot of gym work, which also hoping to see if that relates into some sort of strength benefit on any of the disciplines. But something I've never done and something I think I'll continue even after the lockdown, because I definitely think it is a big help, which I haven't done before.
I must agree. I mean, I think I'm enjoying this. I think I'm also going to continue this going forward.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've been getting up early 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and just doing an hour of strength. And she's obviously really good. I'm useless. I'll do, biceps for an hour. And she's good at like, you split the muscle groups up and so I just follow blindly and she tells me what to do. But shucks, by the end of the hour, you can feel you've had a good all-round workout. Um,
It's a good husband. Follow blindly.
I follow
Just keep
instructions
that
well.
going.
Happy wife, happy life. So have you watched Tiger King in your time off?
I have not. I
What?
watched the trailer. Have you watched it?
Yeah, it's horrendous.
And with it? No, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me. I watch things like Schitt's Creek, and that I find hysterical. The other day, I also watched Tropic Thunder again. I love Tom Cruise. I mean, not really as a person, but I love a Tom Cruise movie, and I am obsessed with the Tom Cruise channel. I have watched Cocktail, Top Gun, Mission Impossible, Jack Reacher. And then Tropic Thunder on Friday night. I wanted to have an early night, and I was just so like I get into fits of giggles. I just love Les Grossman. He's disgusting, and that dance. I had to YouTube the dance afterwards again just to watch it again. It's the best.
Try do it yourself on TikTok.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how TikTok works. I mean, how do these people learn the dances? Where is the dance lessons?
YouTube.
Do you just have to
Everything's on
watch it?
YouTube.
But I mean, do you just learn the dance like over and over again? You spend
Practice
hours
it,
learning to the
yeah.
dance and then you just go, okay. Maybe that'll be the challenge for the
Millennials.
week. Let's TikTok on Friday. We'll do a
I'm
dance
in.
off.
I'm in.
You can I'll let you choose the song.
Perfect.
But it's got to be a single dance. You can't have a partner because I'm in isolation alone.
Okay, no, fair enough. I can dance my own. But Tiger King is really worthwhile. It's a good it really gives context as to how Donald Trump got chosen as president, and it's quite an eye opener that there are these humans in the world which America seemed to house. It's 5 episodes. It's quite short. It's only, I think they have 45-minute long episodes. It's 5 of them, and yeah, they
Okay.
are. It's all about the tiger trade essentially in the deep south of America, but they're pretty interesting characters.
I'll give it a go. I was like umming and ahhing about Game of Thrones because see, even I don't even know the name Games of Thrones, Game of Thrones because everyone loved it and I've never watched. Well, I tried. I got to episode 3 and I was like, oh my God, this is so boring.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, you need to push through. So I was thinking about pushing through, but really there hasn't been that much time. So far.
So in
45 minutes, I can do that as an easy spin.
In your lockdown, 3 people you would have join you. Obviously, you can't choose me. 3 people you would have join you for one day, for 3 days, essentially.
Why need 3 days? Why wouldn't I just have them
just
join
3
me?
people. 3 people you could have join you for one day each. So they could come and go. So they would never know about each other either. So Tom Cruise for a day, or just an idea. Just an idea.
Wow, we can go like okay. I like that. I mean, I should say my boyfriend.
That would be a good start. One.
Yes. Shame he was in isolation before isolation started because they were on a skiing trip and a couple of them tested positive. So he's been in lockdown for almost 5 or 6 weeks now, this poor bugger. My best friend in New York, so we chat a lot, but it would be awesome to have her here.
Nice.
And then let's go celebrity. Who would I want?
And your boyfriend wouldn't know about him.
I think
He's still in lockdown.
I would have gone for
and he probably doesn't watch Mondays with Max.
No, probably doesn't. Except I might just share this on my page and then he'll all watch it. Maybe I don't know. I'm like kind of obsessed with Morgan Stewart. I know that sounds really weird. She's just like famous for being famous, really. But I just love the way she talks. She talks such crap, but she's hysterical and she doesn't stop.
And triathlon-wise, one male and one female triathlete you'd like to spend the day with, see how they train, see what they do?
That's a hard one.
Not Josh Amberger, because you can't swim.
And I also don't know enough about eucalyptus trees to have a good discussion there. The scribble tree. I think female, I'd go. I think who really I admire and I mean, there's so many females that I admire, but I think off the top of my head, maybe Flora Duffy. I think that she'd be great.
Not far from you either. Yeah, you could arrange that. She's in Stellenbosch?
And yeah, she is in Stellenbosch. I mean, I think she was supposed to go to Boulder, but didn't get there in time.
Yeah.
And then as the males, I don't know. I mean, like, let's keep it at home. Brad Weiss. Yeah, I think he's probably one of the nicest. Him and his fiancée are one of the nicest couple in triathlon that I know. I'm sure there's lots of lovely others out there, but they're just really nice. So,
He
and I
did
think
pretty
that
well.
he's he's also very pragmatic and practical. I find him um, he's just calm and logical, and yeah. And I also think he didn't just get into the sport, from the get-go. So it was pretty much more alongside my path, as in, started late, didn't know triathlon, didn't come through ITU.
Yeah, hard work. Okay, lastly,
Yeah.
best indoor bike workout as a rough thing. You don't need exacts, and best treadmill workout that we can do whilst we manage these last 10 days.
Bike, I like 1 minute over gears. I think those are super fun. So 1 minute on, 1 minute off,
For how long?
low cadence. I mean, I wouldn't start. I wouldn't start with a million off the bat.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so
I
build it
mean,
up.
probably you could, yeah, build it up. You could probably start with a good warm up, a good cool down, and I don't know, something like, mm, I would say, 10 to 15 to start off with. So that gives you about. And then on the run, oh, I love, what's amazing about a treadmill? I do enjoy a treadmill
Mm,
run, is that there are many hills. So I enjoy just getting to a comfortable pace. So something that you would be able to run an Ironman pace at, so like marathon effort, and then doing inclines, so intervals up and down and up and down, and just running through that. I find that um, you get so caught in the moments and those intervals, and you could do something like 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, then back down to zero and back up. And you can even do it by 0.5% if 1% move is too much. But yeah, I think people get so on the treadmill and they forget that treadmill can give you a long and a lot of hills.
yeah, and it does wonders
And
for your
I just
pace.
before we yeah, and before we sign off, I'm quite interested to know who you would have in your house.
Phew, I've got to first work out who's listening to this. Okay, those 5 people. Triathlon wise or people wise?
Okay, let's go with anyone in the world, and then triathlon one. Oh my goodness, that picture. You know, everyone's like, "Oh, look at the beautiful sunrise," and I'm like, "Oh my God, if only I could get a little bit less there in the fat and a little bit there."
We actually
Exactly. What are those saddlebags?
that was
That's what I
2017.
see.
That's a long time ago. Um, Triathlon wise or human being wise?
Both. So let's
Both.
go human
Okay.
being wise first.
Um, Human being wise, I've got sure. I've got a good group of friends. I grew up in Durban, obviously stuck in Joburg now. Um, and I've got a real good
Didn't
group
know.
of school friends who are all still in Durbs who we pretty good fun when we all get together. So missing them in this time, and obviously miss them in general. But I would definitely
I
say
like that you can't name. I like that you can't name one one of
I can.
them.
I could just go through them all.
Oh, okay, maybe don't.
So one of them would be good value for a day.
Would
Um,
they know which one would be chosen?
yeah, probably Nick Roberts is one of my best mates. Best man or best man at my wedding. I was best man at his. We've been mates for since he arrived at high school with us. So he rides on Zwift quite a lot. He's a pretty good Zwift rider, and we always have pretty good competition when we do Durban Ironman together. He actually watched me do my first one 2016, and then he got hooked, and then we did 17 together, 18, 19, and I've beaten him every year, which I know eats him alive. But this last one, I, I'm a stronger swimmer than him, so I gained quite a bit of time, well, about 6, 7 minutes, I'd say, on the swim on him, and then he caught me on the bike. Um, but I'd started behind him, and then we did the whole run together. I dropped him on the run, and he fought pretty hard and came back on the run, caught me, and we ran over the finish line together. But because I'd started
Oh,
behind
whoa.
him, I beat him by
Oh, you
a
still
couple,
beat him?
yeah, I still beat him by a couple of
Oh,
minutes. So I know he's been training really hard, and obviously Durban, we don't know what's happening with Durban yet, but it'll be another good duel between the two of us. So it'll be good to have him up here for a day. I could just weigh out where my competition's at. Um,
maybe you can have a better on the virtual race.
yeah, he seems to be. I think there's
My
also a
money's on you,
speed.
Max. My
Yeah,
money's
no,
on you.
there's a speed issue. There's a speed issue with Swift. He seems to
I
drop
mean,
me.
just say that you weigh like 20
Oh, well,
kgs
that'd be,
less.
yeah. I've been riding on my goal weight, not my actual weight, and I find that's helping already. Um, Shucks. And then I think my folks have been in Ireland for the last 6 months, and they raced back when this lockdown was happening. So they're in Durban in lockdown in their house, and I haven't seen them since August, September last year. So I'd sign them up as
So them as opposed to the in-laws, huh?
awkward. My in-laws aren't on Instagram, so that's fine. But my sister and brother-in-law are, so them as well, them as well. Um, and pro-wise, or triathlete-wise, because obviously a hell of a lot of good age groupers, but professional-wise, male, I would definitely. I had a real good chat to Josh Amberger after PE last year.
South Africa.
Yeah, and I definitely would say if we were allowed to swim, I'd really love to see or spend some time with him in a pool because yeah, he obviously does something that the rest of us don't. But in these lockdown times, I would say Jan Frodeno, which is probably the obvious answer, but just to see how he does what he does. I did see some stats of him riding the other day, and I don't know if it was right or wrong, but sort of like comfortably sitting at like 350, 400 watts. His heart rate around like 125, 130, um, which I'd love to just see that in action and appreciate. I think you get an appreciation for what people can do when you know what you can do. Um,
Yeah. I mean, he's such a gentleman as well. He comes across as it.
yeah, well, I mean, everything that he does seems to be done professionally. Female wise, obviously, I can't choose you. I'm just checking.
No, don't choose
Okay,
me.
okay. Um, I suppose Daniela Rafe because not because she's so good, but purely I think she does seem to live a lockdown life. She seems to have a little dungeon that she goes into and trains, and you'd love to just see the sort of hours that they're putting in to get the results that they're putting out there. Um,
Hmm.
it's
I think you'd be surprised.
well, that's why I would like to see it because yeah, there's so much
Hmm.
talk about the more you train, the better you get. Is not really quality over quantity. Um, so you
I think there's a balance between you need distance obviously for an Ironman, but you don't need it all the time. I think quality does, but I think it's also just consistency over a long period of time.
yeah
And it's demonstrable hours, right? Everyone thinks about the 10,000 hour debate, but it's actually
yeah
you can't just do the same thing for the 10,000 hours and then
correct.
expect that you're going to be anything.
And I think that's the beauty of
Uh,
triathlon and why I'm hooked and maybe you're the same is you the reward you get for the effort you put in. I remember a patient of my wife's was saying to her, why does your husband do triathlon? It's anyone can swim, ride or run. There's no talent to it, which you know is fine, and it's one person's opinion, but it takes some serious discipline to improve in those three disciplines, and then having the
yeah.
reward of seeing the improvement, like you say, in training or in races, and hopefully we'll get back to racing sooner than later.
I mean, the truth of the matter is anyone can also run 100 meters, but not everyone's going to be Usain Bolt.
Exactly. And there's some talent in
So
that.
it's how close can you get, and how can you see that achievement?
Yeah,
Max, sorry, I'm gonna have to cut it short.
I'm
I've
done.
got a 10:30 work call, but
Ah,
it was
so you're
fun.
going to keep your headphones on.
Yeah, exactly.
No, thank you so
Except not
much.
everyone's gonna see me now.
Everyone's favorite
Thank
South
you.
African female professional, and we hope to see you in November.
Yes, I hope to. It'll be fun.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll chat again
Something to look
and
forward to.
we'll Zwift
Yes.
soon.
Yes, at the meetup. Thank you.
Yes, cool. Have a good
Cheers.
day. Ciao, bye.
Bye.